Irish guy, and Darwin Nunez slowed down. This rapid growth of his career is almost to a scary degree. I mean, 2 years ago, nobody knew who he was. I mean, honestly, go back to life before the first lockdown. You know, when it wasn't illegal to sneeze at old ladies on the train. I mean, go back to life before the face mask, when we could gladly lick milk off a public toilet seat without any fears of consequences. I mean, back then, not a single person knew who this man was. I mean, even when Liverpool were reigning champions of Europe, which isn't that long ago, tell Jurgen Klopp that in the summer of 2019 that within 3 years he would be sanctioning a €100 million deal for a guy currently playing for Almeria in the Spanish second tier. I mean, he'd have probably told you there's more chance of you catching him making love to a sheep. I mean, good Christ. The top scorer in the Spanish Segunda Division last season was Borja Baston. Yeah, ask Swansea and Aston Villa fans how good he is at football. They'll tell you he's about as dangerous in front of goal as the Monopoly hat. Well, that's where Nunez was 2 years ago. Honestly, even during the height of the lockdown. In the summer of 2020, this man was on the verge of a move to Brighton. Yes, Brighton and Hove Albion, to compete up front with Danny Welbeck. But not just that, Sheffield United were also sniffing around him too, only choosing to not spend 20 million on him in favour of spending the same cash on Ryan Brewster from Liverpool. I mean, can you imagine if Nunez to Bramall Lane had actually happened? If this Uruguayan goal machine had wound up getting infected by the second season syndrome mess at Bramall Lane, Brewster was bought for the future, right? Nunez is the same age as him, and in the last 2 years has scored a combined 4 goals for Sheffield United. All of them in the Championship, and by now surely he has the same level of confidence as that sexually repressed donkey of Winnie the Pooh. And honestly, it's just sad. His next career move is probably going to be to Turkey, Belgium or Greece. And that could have been Nunez. A lucky escape, son. I mean, good Christ, his first season in England and stuffed in a dressing room with the morale reminiscent to a social club for recently divorced men. I mean, being forced to battle for a starting spot with David McGoldrick and Billy Sharp. I mean, that could have chewed this man's career into wet, soggy, scrambled egg. Instead, now, he's becoming the most expensive footballer in the history of a Liverpool football club. Honestly, just slow down, because this is post-lockdown boom. I mean, this is football's answer to Tommy Innes. This man has come from absolutely nowhere. Honestly, 3 years ago, he's probably barely able to afford sausage rolls or tea. Now, he is soon going to be the face of Anfield, with kids rushing out to get his name on the back of their shirt. I mean, do we not remember, this isn't the first Nunez that Liverpool have signed. When they sold Michael Owen to Real Madrid for £8 million, they were also given Antonio Nunez in a swap. He was about as threatening as a bar of soap and just wound up getting sent off at Burnley. And that's about it. He was a £100 lump of cat piss masquerading as a football player. I mean, how was he ever a Real Madrid employee? I mean, what did he do? Just fetch Rose coffee for him in the morning? Was he just employed to clean Zidane's shoes with his tongue? But listen, let's get this right. Nunez to Liverpool seems like a mega transfer. 34 goals in 41 matches for Benfica last season. That is scary business. Boy, I don't want to scare you, but those aren't exactly stupid numbers for a Benfica striker. Because someone usually puts up close to 30 goals for that club each and every year. I mean, 2 seasons ago, Pizzi scored 30 goals and registered 19 assists. And all of that from the right wing. I'm sorry, this one was 30 years of age and had 49 direct goal involvements in 51 matches. Those are Ronaldo type stats. This man utterly terrorized Premier League defenses all year, as if he was a wolf who just invaded a sweatshop for pigs. Well, his next move was to Istanbul Basaksehir on loan. I mean, in 2018, Jonas scored 34 goals in 30 league games, and that was the 3rd time he put up a 30-goal season in the Benfica shirt. I mean, Kostas Mitroglou scored over 50 goals in 2 years, and his next job was just moving to Marseille, the same club who just signed Stephen Fletcher. I mean, good Christ, Paraguayan striker Oscar Cardozo. He finished top scorer for Benfica 6 seasons in a row, and one of them was a 38-goal season, and he was rewarded for his efforts by getting disrespectful links to West Ham and Cardiff. And let's not forget, Nunez was replacing Carlos Vinicius at Benfica, who had scored 24 goals in his only season for the club. Yeah, and then he moved to Tottenham to score 1 Premier League goal. And now he's just a big bag of stale birthday cake in a PSV shirt. And this was a guy who 2 years ago was linked with a £54 million move to Old Trafford. This is not me saying that Nunez will flop. Absolutely not. But I am saying that 34 goals in 1 season is par for the course for Benfica. Their strikers always stuff their face with goals. I mean, good Christ, some of the defences in the bottom half of the Portuguese league might as well be made from candle wax. I mean, this fella helped himself to 3 hat-tricks last season against the likes of Famalicão and Belenenses twice. not exactly powerhouses. I mean, this man was a goal machine hotshot at Almeria, yes, but they've since replaced him with Umar Sadiq. And yeah, he's also been a 20 goal a season machine for them. But let's not forget, he was a Rangers flop who Almeria had to buy from Partizan Belgrade. I mean, Ozzy, while in Scotland, he was apparently so bad that Steven Gerrard banned him from using the car park and even the first team dressing room, telling him to instead go and get changed with the kids. And he also said he was fined £20,000 for liking a post on Instagram. By the sounds of it, I'm guessing if Stevie G had his way, he'd also have happily slammed his head in a car door. So I mean, yeah, great goal return for Almeria in the second tier, but I'm guessing Premier League chairman would rather let a badger bite off their earlobes than fork out for this guy. I mean, let's not forget, Nunez's first season for Benfica, he scored 6 league goals. He was being outscored in that league by Ryan Gold. You know, that former Dundee winger who now plays for Vancouver Whitecaps? That season he scored 1 league goal more than Luis Boamorte's nephew. I mean, just go back to the spring of last year, when Liverpool were absolutely struggling for goals, 6 home defeats in a row, and just 10 goals scored in 14 matches from December to March. Imagine telling someone that soon 2/3 of their strike force would be 2 players who just scored 6 goals each in the Portuguese league. Oh, and by the way, they'd cost a combined £122 million. You would assume Klopp had just inhaled toothpaste up his nose. I mean, buying from Benfica, again, I respect it, because last time Liverpool bought from their chairman, they were given a £20 million lump of cat poo in Lazar Markovic. A £20 million footballer they couldn't get off the wage bill for the entirety of his 5-year contract. So returning to Benfica after that, I mean, it's like going back to the same Chinese takeaway, which made you void your bowels on the bus for a week. Listen, I think Nunez is an exciting signing for Liverpool. He's going to add a goal-scoring presence up front, and I do think this will work. I think he will succeed at Liverpool. I mean, good grief, there's some rival fans out there saying that Liverpool have wildly overpaid, and yeah, there might be some truth in that. But he's also the same paycheck that Man United paid for Harry Maguire. A walking, talking box of Cocoa Pops, so everybody please settle down. But, when Liverpool sign a centre forward, I'm guessing their fans' wits. Because yes, we think of Fernando Torres, Luis Suarez and Roberto Firmino, and assume that Liverpool just know how to sign a world-class centre forward, right? Well, no. Listen, it's not as high profile or obvious as the Chelsea striker curse, but lads, how many centre forwards have Liverpool bought that have actually lived up to expectations? Let's go back to the start of the century, shall we? Right. Milan Baros, a young, promising striker bought from the Czech leagues. He never scored more than 9 league goals in a season and was binned off to Aston Villa. So, no. Nicolas Anelka, one of the most exciting centre forwards on the planet. He was taken from PSG on loan. His last season in the Premier League, he'd scored 17 goals for Arsenal as a teenager. Well, now for Liverpool, 4 goals in 20 matches. So, no. Who else? Florence Mapungo was a France under-17 goal machine, one of the most highly sought after teenagers coming out of the academy at Le Havre. Again, 40 goals in 38 matches. So, no. Djibril Cissé was a Ligue 1 goal machine for Auxerre. Back in 2004, he was being mentioned in the same breath as Didier Drogba. Again, another one who failed to hit double digits in the league. He was supposed to be the big money replacement for Michael Owen, and yet, 4 years after his Anfield move, he was playing for Sunderland. So, no. I mean, the big glorious return of Robbie Fowler. 8 goals in 30 matches. Pretty meek return for a man named God. So, no. Peter Crouch was a good signing. Yes, of course he was. But he also had to wait 4 months to score a goal, and again, never hit 10 goals in a single Premier League season for the club. Instead, it was just 8, 9 and 5. So, no. And I don't care what anyone says, Dirk Kuyt was bought as a centre forward. Yeah, I mean, a brilliant signing, an absolute workhorse on the right wing, but he was a 30 goal a season superstar in the Dutch league, and he never came close to that at Anfield. I mean, Fernando Torres, yes, obvious superstar, but I mean, who else? Robbie Keane was a 6-month disaster, and David Ngog at the first touch of a couch. I mean, the club then went through a phase of poaching centre forwards from relegation-threatened clubs, but Andy Carroll, Christian Benteke and Danny Ings were all big money disasters. But I mean, that's what happens when you buy from Newcastle, Aston Villa and Burnley. Oh yeah, and Mario Balotelli, Dominic Solanke and Ricky Lambert were all fat wastes of time. Yes, Divock Origi turned into a cult hero, and ultimately, yeah, I guess he was a success. But let's not forget, when he was bought from Lille in 2014, fans were billing him as being better than Lukaku. I mean, if you told someone that he'd then go on to score 22 Premier League goals in 8 years for the club, they'd have demanded his contract be immediately stuffed in a bin. I mean, Luis Suarez and Roberto Firmino were incredible signings. Yes, of course they were. But they were not bought as centre forwards. So they came in the same window as Carroll and Benteke. They were both bought initially to be used as second strikers or shoved on the wing. So really, there's only two out-and-out centre forwards who this club have bought this century who've lived up to their promise. Fernando Torres and Daniel Sturridge. And even the latter outstayed his welcome by 5 years. I mean, again, he had a world-class 18 months, but I mean, again, his stats now look a bit stretched and diluted. 50 league goals in 7 years at the club, and you would forget he did spend 4 years working under Jurgen Klopp. Klopp tried to do his best with him, but he's a broken footballer. I mean, this is one of the most talented forwards England have ever produced. I mean, I stand by this. In 2014, he was the best out-and-out centre forward on the planet. And yet now, he's 32 and no longer deemed good enough for the Australian League. To me, that's just a tragedy. I don't mean to scare Liverpool, but I've just listed 17 centre forwards who have signed since the year 2000 and 17 who did not meet expectations. It's not a curse as obvious as the one at Chelsea, but it is worrying. Don't pretend like it's not. Two centre forwards, Torres and Sturridge. That's it. Two strikers who were bought as strikers and did exactly what they said on the tin. But again, I do think Nunez will be striker number 3. I mean, he has to be. Liverpool cannot afford to dump both Sadio Mane and Divock Origi and have this man fail. That is not an option. This man has to be the Uruguayan response to Erling Haaland. So the pressure on his shoulders, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he wakes up every morning and vomits in his lap. I am backing this man. I do think Darwin Nunez is going to be an absolute success. He was bought as a centre forward, and he's going to be a brilliant centre forward. I think this man is Klopp's final present for the club. This is the last footballer he will ever sign for the club who will turn into a world-class superstar. This man is Klopp's final present. And honestly, I think he's going to be immense. Anyway, that's what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. What do you think? How is Nunez going to turn out? Let me know. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe as always. I'll talk to you in a while.